If you like tiny succulents, this one is a must-have. Echeveria Setosa Var Deminuta will not disappoint and is an ideal candidate for small pots. It has been nicknamed the firecracker plant due to its bright red and yellow flowers. Like most Echeveria, Deminuta is native to Mexico. While this succulent is not that difficult to grow, it's not a great beginner plant either, for reasons we will discuss a bit later on. Deminuta is a clumping succulent growing many offsets. Individual rosettes are small and only reach about 7 cm or 3 inches in diameter. They grow low to the ground and can reach 4 cm or 1.6 inches, though offsets can push the whole mound higher. New offsets grow underneath more mature rosettes and can create clusters of over 12 cm or 5 inches. The leaves are small, club-shaped and chunky. One rosette can have quite a few rows stacked up. Tiny white hair grow right at the tip of each leaf but can sometimes appear on other parts. Deminuta is a lovely blue color, though the shade can change with the season. During winter or when the plant is stressed, the underside of the leaves can turn a reddish brown color. This succulent will grow best outdoors in a bright sunny spot. It does tolerate outdoor shade and filtered light but is likely to be less colorful. It can grow leggy and stretched as a result. Fungal diseases are also more likely to attack when succulents are grown in shaded spots that are often more humid. And Deminuta can unfortunately be prone to fungal disease when the weather is too wet. Personally, I would not recommend growing it indoors as it's very likely Deminuta will not survive unless you have a big sunny window, a sunroom or plant growing lights. It should however tolerate overwintering and short stays indoors as long as it's kept in a super bright spot. Deminuta can be grown in pots as well as frost-free gardens. If grown in pots, repotting every year or so will ensure offsets and a happy plant. It does tolerate being root bound, but there may not be as many offsets and some of the bottom leaves are likely to die off. If you only get light frosts and no snow during winter, you can grow this succulent in the garden. Because it is so small, the best position in the garden would be around the edges where it cannot get overgrown by other plants. Bigger, more vigorous neighbors can easily smother this tiny baby. To help it establish and grow better, mix any type of potting mix in with the garden soil. The roots tend to be quite thin and can find it difficult to break through hard garden soil. By cultivating and mixing in a bit of potting mix, you'll add nutrients and improve the soil structure. When growing succulents in the garden, it's best to choose a slope, raised beds or a spot where water doesn't pool after the rain. In pots, Deminuta will thrive on good quality succulent potting mix. Succulent potting mix will have the right pH and nutrients tailored to succulent plants. As we discussed earlier, when growing in the garden, it's best to cultivate the soil by mixing in a bit of potting mix. I've grown hundreds of Echeveria Deminuta to date and they live outdoors all year round. But for them to survive the rain, they need to be planted in well-draining potting mix and be in a sunny spot. If your climate is quite wet and humid, it may be best to bring it under cover when it rains heavily. Deminuta can be prone to a water-related disease called edema, which causes permanent brown spots on the leaves. While not fatal, edema can ruin the look of a plant. If you're ever worried, it's always best to err on the side of caution and bring some succulents, especially Echeveria, under cover during rainy periods. During dry weather, allow the potting mix to dry out between waterings. In summer, this could mean watering a few times per week and almost not at all during the cold months. Deminuta is drought tolerant and can survive without water for months. But in my opinion, it should not be left too dry for too long as it may start losing leaves. Temperature-wise, Deminuta will tolerate heat well over 40 degrees Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit, though it should be moved out of the sun once it gets this hot. If exposed to direct sun during extreme heat waves, the leaves can suffer sunburn and the plant could die, especially when planted in dark colored pots. It's said Deminuta is not very frost hardy. It can get frostburns and even die when temperatures drop below the freezing point for too long. If you only get the occasional frost, use frost cloth to protect your succulents. During deeper frosts or snow, bring this plant indoors for the duration. Deminuta is easily propagated from leaves and cuttings of offsets. It's also possible to propagate from seed, but in my opinion it's a bit pointless and slow. For fast results, propagating cuttings is the best method. Wait until the offsets are at least this size. If they are too small, they can fail. You can either cut or pull it off by the stalk. Cuttings should be left to dry for about 24 hours before planting. This will give the wound a chance to heal and prevent harmful organisms from getting in. Once the wound is dried, they can be then planted into pots filled with succulent potting mix and transplanted into the garden or a bigger pot once enough roots develop. First roots should start growing in 2 to 4 weeks and the plant will be ready to transplant in approximately 2 to 3 months. If you want to grow loads, leaves are so very easy to propagate. They may be tiny, but the success rate is very good and most leaves will grow a leaf baby. They are prone to breaking and you may need to be extra careful to get the whole leaf off. Start at the bottom. If you're finding it hard to access the leaves, pull the plant out of its pot. After separating a few, leave the leaves in a tray in a dry, sheltered but bright spot. Once you get new growth, plant the leaves in trays or pots filled with succulent potting mix and wait a few months until the roots have grown well into the pot. If you'd like a more detailed how-to on propagating Echeveria leaves, I have a video dedicated to just that, which I'll link in the description and at the end of this video. In my experience, propagating is best done in spring. Summer is usually also good, but do be careful to protect your cuttings and leaves from strong sun as they burn easily. In climates where autumn and winter are mild, you can also propagate cuttings at the beginning of autumn. Personally, I stop propagating leaves by early to mid-summer, so the plant has a chance to develop before winter. Leaves that are not yet developed are also more prone to dying if exposed to direct hot summer sun. Deminuta is a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to pests. In my experience, aphids are not all that attracted to it but can still attack, especially when flowers appear. Mealybugs on the other hand really like this plant and can easily hide in the compact rosette. Watch out for any white streaks, cottony sacs or malformed leaves. Root mealybugs can also be a real pain as they are hiding out of sight in the soil. They particularly like root-bound plants, so do check on those roots every year or so if you're not reporting regularly. And bigger pests such as snails, slugs, caterpillars and grasshoppers can attack too but are not that common. They are usually responsible for bigger damage and can take multiple leaves off in one sitting. The inflorescence on this plant is very bright and amazingly beautiful. Flowers grow on a tall stem above the foliage. The stem is a little hairy and grows tiny leaves. The yellow and red colored petals are vivid and give this plant its nickname. Here in Australia, Deminuta flowers towards the end of spring and into summer, but this can be different in other parts of the world. All Echeveria are said to be non-toxic and safe for humans, dogs, cats, other pets and livestock. It may, however, not be a great idea to go and snack on this plant. And that is all for today. I hope this video was useful, and if you'd like to add anything or ask a question, you can do so in the comments below. To learn more about succulents, hit the subscribe button or go to succulentgrowingtips.com. Thank you very much for watching.